Welcome to Antiques Ghost Show. This superb 19th century mansion behind me is about to witness a paranormal investigation as we try and unite today's daring volunteers with their distant ancestors. Our job is to take their treasured family heirlooms and make them talk. Our resident psychic and medium, Derek Acorah, believes he can take any object and tap into layers of information embedded within it through time. By unpeeling these layers, he hopes to unveil the heirloom's original owners. It's a psychic experiment, so he gets no sneak previews, and to test his findings, we've lined up two independent experts who'll pursue their own leads. Anthony Adolph is a family historian who'll hunt through the archives in search of hard facts. And Chris Gower is an antique specialist, on hand to put each heirloom under the microscope. Our team of experts have been denied all access to the heirlooms and indeed the people that own them. In just a few minutes, Derek will begin his psychic reading. So, let's get a sneak preview of what's in store. Rob and Sharon have transported a wooden chest all the way from Worcestershire. Can Derek and the team shed some light on its well-travelled past? Sharon, Rob, you've come in and you've brought in an amazing box. Actually, I think I might take it home with me myself. I quite like it. So what's the story behind it?
The story is that it belonged to a great-great-uncle of ours.
So what was the name of this guy?
His name was Sergeant Slater.
Sergeant Slater. You going to give me a first name?
No, I'm going to... I'd like to keep that to myself. For the
right,
moment.
okay. You want to see whether Derek can get that first name for you. Now, it's an amazing looking thing. It looks like it's been beaten about a bit. So it does look like it's been through the walls, quite literally, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
What else do you know about it?
We recently had a part of a diary that Sergeant Slater wrote. We know that he was in the Royal Marines, but there is a huge chunk missing there.
Now, have either of you ever been to a medium before?
No.
I have once.
Right. What are you expecting? How are you feeling about going in to meet Derek?
Oh, fine. Excited because I want to see hear the history on this. But yeah.
Nice to meet you, Robert. And Sharon, I'm very pleased to meet you, both of you. Now, with your approval, may I just touch the chest? Is that okay?
Certainly.
Thank you. Bless you. Yes. Okay. Right. And emanating from this chest, I'm being made aware in my mind's eye of a gentleman who, if I may describe, because it comes out to me, to the side of me, who would not have been any taller than 5'6", 5'7". A man, please, that wasn't what we call heavy builds. He was more, I go in sizes small, medium and large. And this man was most definitely medium, but he just missed being the small, so to speak. Not broad-shouldered at all. An absolute, because his emanations come to my face here, as if to say, please, that when he smiled and he had a cheeky smile. However, can I say, we're talking about his hairline, because these are the emanations, and I feel that this man has got very, very strong links, no doubt ownership at some time, and strong links, and I'm getting travel as well. Travel. Whoa, yes, and let's go off. And let's go distance. However, I want to go also, I feel it was known to this man because I get this into the side, like the dimple effect. There would have been dimples here in his smiling. Thank you, all right. He would have had a very strong where's the travel to? Okay, thank you. How can I put this? I feel travel by sea. By sea. I'm on a ship and I'm going great distance. And I'm hitting foreign lands. Going 1, 2, 3, 4. And yes, I'm down in the belly of the ship in thought here. I'm down in the belly of the ship. And I seem to be, you know, who? Oh, those feelings coming in. Give me that, please. Yes. You're aware of William? Whoa! And I go, William! And I say, how about this? Hello, William Slater. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Oh, it's powerful. It's conditions. Can I just take the lid off?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. All my fine things are kept safe. William's happy about that. You know, isn't this amazing? Because one moment in thought, emanating, and I'm going to another continent. I tell you, that was rough. Rough seas, more times than enough. Oh, ho, ho, ho. But this man had his sea legs, and he balanced. And I also pick up authority as well, okay? Authority, the arms. 3 stripes. 3 stripes. Whatever. It's just come from that. And the pride of the man. Oh, he was so proud. There was a lot of people counted on him. He didn't like shakers, this man. Didn't like shakers. He wouldn't have them around him. You might not want to hear this, but I say it with love and respect. But I feel the name William, okay, knocks on this to draw your attention, okay? Something, a disc or something has come off the front of this. Are you aware of that?
No.
And it was in some manner taken off. Not maliciously, maybe by accident. But you haven't got the key. Because I'm drawn to the key. And it's, oh, there's a connection with the key and the time of this symbol or emblem being taken off. Also, forgive me, also, I get this beautiful chest, okay, as it's lying now in its true position, at some time or other, or on many occasions, when it was locked, it was stood on end, standing this way. Now, I can't, through the layers of the residual energy, cannot yet find out why. Was it because I feel confined space? And everything was tight in there and tidy. So if it was up standing on end, it saved all that other space, because I feel that either the cabin, what have you, there was not fantastic amounts of room. There wasn't.
No.
Okay. I will stop there now, because that has just cut the layers, okay?
Derek, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just before we end, guys, have you any questions for Derek?
Could the emblem that you're seeing, whatever, be a name tag?
Yes, it could. Absolutely. But it was
Attached
initials.
to the key?
Initials.
Initials?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, 2 initials.
Yeah.
2 initials. Oh, gosh. The William and Slater, WS.
So out of nowhere, Derek pinpointed the 3 stripes of a sergeant, the rank of the military man Rob and Sharon believe once owned the chest. But Will's belief that it travelled on board ship fit with what they know of his career. And was William Slater the name they were keeping under wraps? He also felt that the chest once held a name disc, and then there was that mysterious knocking. In the debriefing room, there are plenty of leads to pursue. Right, well, we've dispatched Derek to get a nice cup of tea. You've had a moment to catch your breath. What did you make of all that?
I was just incredible. I mean, at the moment, I've got so many things that are going through my head, you know, and the information that he came up with. I mean,
So let's start from the beginning. Who was William Slater?
that was the key person that we knew of, and as you know, we kept that to ourselves, and that was the name that we were really looking for, and the fact that he came out with it almost straight away was just incredible.
Now, was he Sergeant Slater?
He was, yes.
Okay.
Yes, in the Royal Marines.
All right, so he got that right too. Now, travelled by ship.
Which he did, yes. He had sort of travelled across to Asia and the Far East and down to Australia, and he'd been on the ship many times.
Sharon, let's come to you. What did you make of it all?
I was just amazed. All the information we had that Derek came out with, he was so spot on. I'm not normally stuck for words, but I was. I was really shocked.
William knocks on the chest, apparently, to draw your attention.
Yeah, we've noticed this. We've noticed a knock, but never really sort of took any serious notice of it.
You'll be listening out to it for a lot more now, won't you? Goodness me. Okay, let's turn to our experts now to see where they're going to take their avenue of investigation. Anthony, where are you going to start?
I'm going to start by saying I'm sort of amazed, really. As you say, Derek said the sergeant, and so he was actually
Yes.
Sergeant of the Royal Marines, was
Yes.
he? Well, that's
Yes.
handy for me to know, because Royal Marines, and anyone in the Army is quite well recorded, and Royal Marines tended to be well recorded. So that obviously then gives me a sort of a good angle for research. So
Yeah.
Chris, how about you? What does this box say to you?
Well, first of all, I love it. The condition of this box is just fantastic. To me, it doesn't look like this has been bashed about on the sea. And it looks to me like it's been kept safely in the same place, because what I think it is a linen box or a blanket box, late Georgian, early Victorian.
Would this be something perhaps not necessarily made for a soldier?
Well, I don't think so. That's something I will look into, obviously. But to me, I would expect to see this in a hallway, bottom of the bed, in the bedroom, because if we look inside, it is a typical Georgian box. This is mahogany. The base is pine, absolutely honest, truly original. And the candle box here, and this is again a feature of early furniture. There were candles kept in there,
Right.
and it's still there. As I said, it doesn't look bashed, and it is in fantastic condition, which gives it value. But I will find out if this is the sort of thing that Army people or Marines took to see. But it's got no wear or tear. It's just, to me, fabulously looked after. It's lovely.
Rob, Sharon, before you go away, is there anything else that we can give to our experts to help them with their search?
Yes, well, we have. This is a copy of a diary which we obtained fairly recently, which gives some rather interesting information on William himself.
So this is pretty key. When did he write it?
It was around about 1870, and it's basically of his time in China, I believe, and Japan.
So actually when he was in the military?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. We got a little bit more of a nugget there to get on with.
amazing. That's absolutely
very helpful.
incredible. This is the sort of thing you really hope to be in family papers, but you've only just got it recently.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay then, guys, to sum up, Rob, they're going to go off and have a look at military chests or trunks. They're going to have a look at anything they can find out about the man, William Slater, for you. How does that sound?
Wonderful.
Okay, well, you've got your work cut out for you. Off you go. Derek's certainly a hard act to follow, but the next time we see Chris and Anthony, they'll be revealing the results of their investigations. Pressure is definitely on. Join us in a minute when we reveal how they all fared.
Is that a military chest?
He was actually fighting with various clans of samurai at the time.
That was phenomenal.
It's like as if I'm getting barrels, and the barrels are being rolled.
He came over with his family to escape the guillotine, as it said.
Before the break, Rob and Sharon brought in an old wooden chest, which they believe belonged to Rob's military ancestor. Derek sensed that the chest had at one time travelled the oceans. This matched Rob's family story that his ancestor served on board ship as a marine.
I feel travel by sea. By sea. I'm on a ship and I'm going great distance.
Over to our independent experts, and Chris wasn't so sure. He didn't think that the chest looked like army issue. Could it just be a humble linen box after all? Anthony, meanwhile, had a head start with a few pages of a diary, supposedly written by Rob's ancestor, whilst on campaign. Would it verify Derek and Rob's picture of the man himself? They're now back at our Manor House base to find out. Welcome back, Sharon and Rob, and hello again to our team. Everybody back in the Ghostshow mansion. Now we're about to play you the film of all the work that the team have done. Anticipation? Are you worried? Do you think you know what we found?
Excited.
Yeah, very excited, yes.
I'm not going to delay you any longer because I can see you sitting there thinking, oh, what have they found out? So let's have a look. Chris is first off the mark as he tests his initial feeling that this might not be a soldier's trunk after all. He's hoping to pick the brains of military antiques dealer Dominic Abbott.
Photographs here. I'd love your opinion on. A chest. I won't tell you more than that till you have a look at them. Is that a military chest?
Possibly.
Only possibly?
Yeah, possibly.
Right.
It's a private purchase thing anyway. There's no set pattern for,
right.
for naval or
They
army
weren't
officers.
issued them?
Oh, no. They went to buy them themselves, really.
So this could have been bought from any furniture store at the time?
Yeah,
I see.
basically.
From these photographs, Dominic, you can see the condition, which is actually quite good. So do you think that saw fighting, and do you think that travelled to the other side of the world in the hold of a ship?
Very possibly. It's interesting to note that the handle on the front of the lid here is very much a typical military pattern.
Oh, how is that?
Just that the handle would pivot up and then is designed to lay flush to the actual lid itself for transit.
Right. So that's a good indication, isn't it?
Yeah,
A
definitely.
seagoing worthiness. Another good point is, would a box like this have the initials of the owner on it?
Possibly, yes.
But not always?
Not always, no. You'd expect sometimes to see a shipping label of some kind. The name would have probably have been on the lid, the outer part of the lid,
Yes.
on a brass plaque as
Yes.
such, or even possibly around the front near the keyhole.
Right.
But
then I suppose that could have been removed in later times.
Oh, exactly. If it was passed on from a family member to someone else, they would have just taken the name off and just used it themselves.
Dominic has just confirmed a feeling Derek had, that Sergeant Slater put his owner's mark on the chest.
Something, a disc or something has come off the front.
But more importantly, he's persuaded Chris that despite its domestic origins, it could still have been taken on board ship by a Royal Marine. Derek's reading and the Slater family legend are back on track. Meanwhile, Anthony has been perusing the entries from Sergeant Slater's diary, left behind by Rob and Sharon. He's seeing what information he can glean about Slater Sr.'s life and career, and it's provided him with some vital clues.
It's telling us about a campaign he fought in China, apparently, in a place called Ningpo. So it's a great find, and the key thing here is that it tells us that he was in the Marine Artillery, so that means we can go away and find out more about him from public records.
The diary is clearly a useful insight into William Slater's life, and with this in mind, Chris's next stop is the Army Museum in London's Chelsea. He's forwarded the diary onto the head of education, Andrew Robertshaw. Up in the museum's gallery, there's a painting which Andrew believes can also shed some light on William Slater's life in the services.
The painting's called Home Again. It's men coming back from the fighting actually in the Indian Mutiny. This is painting is about 1858, about 2 years before Sergeant Slater's experiences. But it shows men coming back on board a transport or possibly a warship back to England wearing the uniforms that they would have been wearing on campaign with their medals. You can see their badges of rank, and they're being greeted by their loved ones. And this sort of thing must have happened to Sergeant Slater. Coming back from a voyage, the family would be told by letter, and they would go and meet them as they arrived.
Yeah, seemed to be a lot of people, Andy, tumbling out of that boat there.
I think life on board ship would have been pretty cramped.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're travelling with large numbers of men coming back from a campaign, then it's going to be very, very crowded between decks, as they would have said. There wouldn't be much space at all.
No. In the foreground there's the man with the three stripes. He's a sergeant. Would our man Slater, would he have been dressed like that?
Normally he would have been wearing blue, but on foreign campaign, the army's beginning to wear what we now today perhaps call khaki or a camouflage colour, better than red or blue if you're being shot at in sort of hot, dusty conditions.
The trunk that I've got here, what does that tell us? Does that trunk look like it's seen life in the high seas or in the other end of the world to you?
For Marines and sailors, their box, sometimes called their ditty box, goes with them. An onboard ship, and under your hammock, you've got your box, and all the things that you're not using are in that box, and when you land, it goes ashore with you.
Goes ashore with you.
So it's a very, very well-travelled box, if we think correctly.
Sounds to me like he lived out of that box.
He certainly would have done. That would have been perhaps the most important position he had till he got home.
So Andrew has lent further support to Derek's feeling that the chest did spend time in cramped conditions on the high seas.
It was stood on end, standing this way. That either the cabin, what have you, there was not fantastic amounts of room.
So far, Andrew's been able to provide a general picture of life on a seagoing campaign. But William Slater's diary did give more specific details, so what kind of action did he see?
At the time he's actually serving both in Japan with the Japanese and against them, which is a bit odd because there's actually fighting with various clans of samurai at the time. We obviously then later on the Chinese coast get Shanghai, and the one we all know about, of course, is Hong Kong.
So would Sergeant Slater have seen a lot of battle?
The nature of Marines is originally they were soldiers who were put on board ships as part of many else as landing parties. And when they got to a position where they had to land, then he would go ashore while the mariners, the sailors, would stay with the vessel normally. And his job would be to act, I suppose, as an infantryman or a gunner, because we know because of what he is in the Royal Marine Artillery.
Yeah.
So he might well have been manning guns in a landing party.
With our overall picture of the life of a Royal Marine a lot clearer, Anthony has now had time to find some official records, which hold specific mentions of William Slater, the individual.
Well, fascinating stuff. We've got all these papers back from the National Archives, all to do with William Slater. They're photocopies taken, the huge big records they've got there. So what does it tell us? It tells us that William Slater joined up in 1851. So that's 150 years ago, isn't it? He was 19 and a half years old at the time, so that's very useful. And it tells us that he was born in Harborne in Birmingham. Now also, Derek gave us a fairly good sort of physical description of what William was like. And this adds some extra interesting information. So he had brown hair, he had hazel-coloured eyes, and then under complexion it says fresh. So you've got a kind of little, you can form a mental image of what the man might have been like. And it also says that before he joined up, he was a servant. So basically, these papers here are backing up and adding to what is really quite a rounded picture of William Slater.
Well, there you go. Goodness me, what an incredible amount of information. What did you make of it?
That was phenomenal. I could never have wished for that amount of information to be found, to be honest. It's just fantastic. And it backs up exactly what Derek said in the reading.
I mean, there was so much detail there. Chris, you obviously went off to the military expert, and it could or possibly could not have been a box used for that. I mean, it does look very well looked after, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. But I'm actually glad to be proved wrong, because these chests did go to sea.
Derek, you've got to be feeling very happy with yourself. I mean, you got the name spot on, you gave us a very big picture of the person who once owned it.
Well, now and again, I don't mind saying, it's lovely to see that I'm getting something right in this way. However, I'm absolutely thrilled that all this information has actually come through. All I can say is, going back to actually doing the reading of it, the emanations were seemingly so clear to me. It was just thrilling. And I'm so, so happy for you both.
So what are you going to do with the information that we've given you?
What we'd like to do is create something that we could put in the trunk, like a diary almost, that is there for whoever has it in the generations to come.
Rob and Sharon, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. It's been truly amazing. And guys, well done. A storming effort. Just leaves me enough time to give you this Antiques Ghost Show scroll, which you can take back with you to Worcester, and on it is all the information that the team have gathered for you.
Marvellous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Derek, Chris and Anthony are preparing themselves for another reading, but it's time for us to meet our next set of volunteers. Linda and Andrew have come from Kent with a miniature painting of a man Linda believes could be her link to the French nobility. Will Derek and the team prove her right? Hello Linda, hello Andrew, welcome to Antiques Ghost Show. Now you've brought something particularly special with you today, tell me about it.
It's a mourning brooch or a pendant brooch. It has hair on the other side of the gentleman. It's about, well, the beginning of the 19th century, by the dress.
Who do you think it might be?
It might be from the French connection, a gentleman that came over in the French Revolution. It was supposed to be a marquis who came over with his family to escape the guillotine, as it said.
Wow, okay.
And his brother was stabbed on the steps of Notre Dame in Paris, and that's where he initiated him to come over in a small boat at night. It's been passed down, but then family legends aren't always true, you know.
What are you hoping Derek will specifically find out for you?
Who it is, so I will be able to trace him on the family tree.
Now, what are your feelings going into seeing Derek?
Well, I have not seen much of the shows at all, and I'm a little bit sceptical, I have to say. That's just in my nature to be so.
Quite rightly so.
I'm quite intrigued.
Man of the family, a little bit more serious.
I'll be intrigued to see what comes out of him.
Andrew, I'm very pleased to meet you.
Thank you.
Linda, I'm very also to meet you as well. Now, may I, please, with your permission, your treasured heirloom, can I pick it up and hold it, please? Is that okay? Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, right. Now, my first impressions, coming from the vibrations of this heirloom here, is I'm taken in mind alone from the residual energy, and I seem to be on a driveway, and that driveway seems to be shale. It's wide and it's winding, and I'm looking at a building, and this building seems to be very, very, if I may say, stately, and also very proud looking. And yet my mind also comes and takes me away from that picture with the links here, and oh, right, this, I'm whisked away in thought, and I feel there's a connection with France. Del Sol. Does that mean anything? This? Okay, thank you. I'm also getting William and John. William and John come, ooh, in these energies. It's lovely. And I get these feelings that come here to me. You see, I'm seeing a scribe. I'm seeing a ledger. And a man sitting, and he's scribing with the old quill pen. And he's putting down, to me, it appears from this, accounts. I'm also being taken. I'm taken to, for some reason, Brittany in France. Only in residual thought. Now they're showing me ships of this energy. A ship. There was a long journey made. A long journey. And that journey, please, was to another land. Would you understand this? And it's like as if I'm taken with that energy and I'm afloat here. And it's like as if, ooh, what a rough journey, you know, in harsh conditions. And I'm up and down and I've got to find my sea legs. You know, that sort of impression? Something happened, quite importantly. They give me dates here of the energy. 1787. Thank you. 1787. An important time of some form of changes or an adding to family name and something to do very strongly with away from the English shores. Away. I mean, someone would have very strong links here with this artifact. An amazing thing, it's like, I guess, a person who is counting, absolutely counting things, and I don't know why, but I'm going to tell you about it. It's like as if I'm getting barrels, and the barrels are being rolled into stock. Stocks and stocks of barrels. Would you understand this?
Maybe, yes.
And as they're being rolled, and they're kept upright like this, see? And there's reams of them, okay? And I feel those barrels contained liquor, okay? Wine. I'm afraid that's all the energy is giving me, I'm afraid. I do apologise that I can't get you any more. Thank you.
So, will Linda and Andrew be able to verify Derek's French connections? He supplied the name of De La Salle and a link to Brittany. He also picked out the date 1787, just 2 years before the French Revolution. Could this be a tie-in with Linda's escaping aristocrat? The names John and William also emerged, as well as a storeroom full of wine barrels. In the debriefing room, the investigation continues. Andrew, Linda, what did you make of that?
I was thrilled. I nearly fell through the floorboards when Derek started talking. I really did.
Now, we were talking earlier about France and the name De La Salle.
And I know my great-aunt is Sarah De La Salle, and that's where I started connecting up with the De Salle family.
Okay.
I know, always known it's De La Salle.
You mentioned 1787.
I know it was to do with the French connection, was to do with the French Revolution. I know they came over as emigres. I'm not sure of the date, actually. They came in a small boat, supposedly, at night, and landed near Lymington.
So do you think that portrait is of De La Salle?
It could be. If he came over, he might have been rather poor. I just don't know. Yes, I believe it is.
I'm sure our experts have got a lot to ask you. Chris?
Well, the thing with these miniatures are they were made for people who travelled, so that the loved one left behind, either mother or wife or daughter, would have this memento when they're left behind, because these are, in fact, early photographs, obviously, clearly before the invention of the camera. The second thing with these is that they weren't made of anybody. You had to be somebody of standing, and when Derek was going on about, he had all these men and ledgers, it came over that he is somebody quite important, not necessarily aristocratic, but certainly a boss of men. The dress, the costume, is period 1780 to 1800. And it's English dress. I mean, I don't, from this, get anything European. Yeah. And I quickly looked, as you're talking earlier on, at the back. There's hair on the back here, because that's what the Georgians did.
Anthony, what did you make of it all?
I was struck by the fact that he was very much giving us a businessman, not an aristocrat.
Yes.
He's given us one surname to look up. I'm going to see if the names he gave us in the reading are going to lead me to the right document.
So you've got De La Salle, De La Salle, somewhere in that area. You've got William,
a couple of possible Christian names.
You've got loads of Christian names.
Yeah. It's a real jigsaw in this case, actually, but we'll see what we can do.
Can't wait to find out. Well, we'll give Chris and Anthony a little bit longer to get as much information as they can before knuckling down to their research. Join us after the break when we find out how they got on.
And amazingly enough, there was a family called De La Salle de la Zadier who were marquises.
Look here, what we've got.
Ah, yes, yes.
Oh, it's fascinating.
And I feel there's still things to, if I may say, still things to be brought out in the connection with France, and especially Brittany.
Before the break on Antiques Ghost Show, Linda and Andrew brought in a miniature painting of a man they believe was a French aristocrat. Derek instantly picked up on the French surname Linda believes is part of her family tree.
De La Salle. De La Salle. Does that mean anything? Okay, thank you.
He also felt a connection to Brittany and saw a large stock of wine.
It's like as if I'm getting barrels and the barrels are being rolled.
Over to our independent experts, and Anthony set out to find proof of a De La Salle in Linda's family tree. Chris, meanwhile, was hoping that the painting itself could hold some clues to the man's identity. Linda, Andrew and Derek have now returned to our palatial headquarters to hear the verdict. Linda, Andrew, welcome back to the Antiques Ghost Show. How are you both doing?
Fine, thank you.
Very well.
Okay, good. Well, we're about to play a film for you, which is what Anthony and Chris have prepared on the research that they took. So, excited?
Yes.
Nervous?
Yes, both.
Okay.
Just a bit.
Okay, all right, well, let's press play. Anthony's first mission was to prove the link between Linda and the French surname of De La Salle. The name Derek also picked up from his reading of Linda's heirloom. He's finally managed to trace the document that proves a conclusive connection.
This is a marriage certificate from 1803, and it shows Linda's ancestors, John Cumley, getting married to someone called Deborah de la Salle. So Derek said de la Salle in the reading, and he was right, Linda was right. There it is. Now, Linda also thought that the de la Salles might have been marquises who fled from the French Revolution. I'm not so sure about that. In those days, you could either get married by licence, which tended to be the sort of upper class and the people who had pretensions to the upper class, or you could marry by banns, and that tended to be the lower end of society. And in fact, this couple chose to marry by banns. And in fact, when it comes down to the signatures, John Cumley signed his own name, but his wife Deborah signed with a cross. Now that could have meant there was something wrong with her hands, but it's more likely to mean that she couldn't read or write. So again, this doesn't indicate to me that this is the cream of the French aristocracy by any means. However, when we turned to books on the French nobility and books on French coats of arms, we find that there were actually quite a lot of de la Salles who had coats of arms and were noble. And amazingly enough, there was a family called de la Salle de la Zadier who were marquises. And not only that, but if you remember in the reading, Derek said that he thought the family had something to do with Brittany. And amazingly enough, this family of French marquises did live in, now it says Brett there, well that's the abbreviation for the French for Brittany.
For some reason, Brittany in France.
Maybe Linda's story wasn't incorrect at all, and maybe there was a connection between her de la Salles in Portsmouth and this extraordinary family of French marquises de la Salle in Brittany.
It's clear the de la Salle in Linda's family tree was too low on the social scale to have commissioned a work like this. Despite Anthony's research and Derek's insights, the identity of the man in the painting remains a mystery. Time for Chris to take a different tack. He's arrived at an antiques fair in Birmingham's NEC, and he's on the hunt for a specialist. Judy Harden collects and sells miniature paintings similar to Linda's, and Chris is hoping her knowledge can shed some light on the mystery man.
Well, now, I've brought you something along belonging to a girl called Linda. It could well be one of her ancestors, but that's what we're going to find out.
So let's have a look at him.
Let's have a look. You just start wherever you like there, Judy.
Okay, well, this is an English miniature and it's painted on ivory. And it's of a gentleman, possibly in his 40s, painted around about 1790. We can tell this because of the costume and because of the hairstyle. He's got powdered hair. Now, they stopped powdering hair around about 1800.
Now, Judy, this may sound an odd question, but is he definitely English, or could he be French?
It's certainly painted by an artist working in England. If he were French and he had come to live in England, he would accept the clothing, the style, and the artists of our country. So I can't tell you, he could be French, he could be almost anything, but certainly he was painted in the English way. So if we look on the back of the miniature, yes, you can see that there's a panel here of interwoven hair and a different colour hair in the middle. Now, these hair panels were done really as a love token. So we can presume that this gentleman had his miniature made, perhaps to give his wife or to keep himself, And this hair in the back, the two colours, are more than likely to be his and his wife's hair used together. Now, if we open it, look here what we've got.
Ah, yes, yes.
So, we now know the gentleman died in February, and he died in 1804, aged 55. So we can guess that if this miniature was painted around 1790, he would be in his 40s from the dates that we have here.
Right.
And because he hasn't been painted by one of the top artists in London, say, we can assume that maybe he was a wealthy merchant or a landowner.
Because his clothes tell us that as well, don't they? He's not a military man,
No.
he's not a cleric.
No.
So he's a merchant of some sort.
He could be a merchant, he could be a banker, he could
But a
be
bit mean?
Could be a wealthy farmer.
So Chris has gleaned a list of possible occupations, and he's established that the painting itself is English and not French. But the date he found inside the brooch could be the breakthrough Anthony's been waiting for. It's given him a fresh lead in the ongoing search for our man's identity.
Okay, so we knew it was either the 3rd or the 6th of February 1804 when this person died. So I went and I looked in a magazine called The Gentleman's Magazine, because the person in the portrait was obviously quite well dressed. The Gentleman's Magazine was basically sort of announcements which you might expect to find nowadays in the Times. It was sort of the great and the good. And it lists deaths, and I came up with a list of 8 people who died on those dates, any one of whom could have been the man in the portrait. Derek, however, gave us a few Christian names in the reading. One was a William, and there was a William Fellows of Ramsey Abbey who died that day. But there was also a John, and amongst the list of people who died on the 3rd of February was Mr. John Roberts, Senior, principal proprietor, it says, of the White Horse Inn in Fetter Lane. Now that fascinated me because one of the things that Derek said was he was talking about barrels and barrels of wine. So I wonder whether that might tie in with what I found here and indicate that the man in the portrait could actually have been the landlord of the pub in Fetter Lane.
And I feel those barrels contained liquor, okay? Wine.
An English pub landlord isn't exactly French aristocracy, but has our combination of historical research and psychic insight finally unmasked the man in the painting. It's now for Linda to decide. Well done, team. You really pulled out all the stops there, but let's find out what Andrew and Linda think.
Well, it's fascinating. To actually find the date and everything's been driving me crazy. I mean, what it was.
Now, Chris obviously went, didn't you, to the lady who was the expert on miniatures, and she gave you an awful lot of information.
That's really interesting.
But it seems to me, from the information that she gave you, it doesn't look like the links with France were there.
No, not there for this one, no.
Certainly, she pinpointed it to be absolutely English and of the period.
Okay. And obviously, Anthony, you picked up on that and then followed that through and came up with the White Horse Inn in Fetter Lane.
Well, it's a real journey, but I think what you were interested in for the family tree was this De La Salle link, which Derek got in the reading, which is quite extraordinary, in fact, but you got it. And then we managed to prove that. So we got you back to 1803 anyway. As to who he was, well, I say we were trying to follow up on our leads from the readings, from what's on the back of the miniature. The jury's out, but at least there are some possibilities to work on there.
And now, Derek, coming back to you, obviously, as we say, right at the very beginning in your reading, De La Salle was almost the second thing I think you uttered at that reading.
Yes, it was.
And you felt a very strong connection there. So how do you feel now you've seen all that report?
Well, I still feel very, very strongly leaning towards the very strong links with France. Still, very strongly. And I feel there's still things to, if I may say, still things to be brought out in the connection with France, and especially Brittany.
I'm determined to find out.
Is this becoming your life's work?
I think it is. My grandson.
Let me pass you this. This is indeed our Ghostshow scroll, and inside this is all the findings that our experts have managed to research for you.
Thank you.
We wish you the best on your
Thank you very
investigations, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
There you go, believer or skeptic, lots of food for thought there. From all of us here on the Antiques Ghost Show, take care and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for coming in.